Interesting. I mean, some people in the studio here may not agree with some of the things that Mr. Femi Adesina has said. From the PDP point of view, a lot of people have said, with the rate at which the economy was left, that your party, the PDP, had dealt a big blow to the economy and the structure of the country.
Well, I'm happy that it's 2 years on now. Femi Adesina is doing exactly what I expect him to do, defending the government which he's serving. But I would want to go with statistics. By the time this government came into power, we're on a GDP level of 2.3%. And that totally tells you that we're not on trade deficit, because we all know what GDP is. It's a surplus or decrease in trade balance. Now, why am I saying this? Even with the so-called corruption that, let me say, allegedly that was going on within that period, we still had a situation where we were able to keep the price of petrol to 87 naira. There are four cardinal things that this government did, which has left us in the state we are in. I'm happy Sanusi talked about it, and I'm happy a couple of other people, even in the APC government, like the likes of El Rufai, has also talked about it. When you ban 41 items like head pan, shovel, let me just go to the basics: cement, rice, sugar, and all the others. I could say poultry items will sound very irritating, but for the want of time, let me not list all those items and say these items cannot actually go to the CBN and assess Forex. And you have no alternative plans. This government had no alternative plans to those 41 items that were banned. At the same time they were banning those items, they removed fuel subsidy. They removed fuel subsidy. As if that was not enough, they said the marketers could also go to the parallel market if they could not get letters of credit, because our letters of credit were not being honored. They were owing subsidy. There was backlog of subsidies, of course, which they met quite all right, because it was on the 2015 budget. And at that mature point, what have you just done? We are all, even a basic student of economics knows that once demand is more than supply, it leads to inflation. Everything skyrocketed. The dollar shot up to almost 400 and something naira overnight. The disparity between the official rate and the parallel rate was over 200 naira difference. And it was obvious that there was no plan, because it took 6 months for them to name the ministers. It took 6 months for them to come up with a budget. So 1 year had gone down the line without any plan. So what are you talking about? Once you have let this go, how do you have the economy? How do you bring these factors together? It was obvious that there was no economic plan. 25 million Nigerians were promised 5,000 naira stipends. Over 1 million Nigerians were promised on the Empower portal, were promised to be employed. School children, 5.5 million, were supposed to be fed. As I speak to you, how many are we feeding? Okay, we need to call it spade a spade.
Some of the narratives that brought President Muhammadu Buhari to power, some of those narratives that were used at the 2015 election, do you think those narratives were real if you look back now, 2 years on?
Well, I'd rather take Mr. Adesina up on the promises he said they made on the areas of, so it said economy, corruption, and security. So my co-guest has spoken about the economy. So let's look at security, for example. So yes, the army has done quite a lot of work in the northeastern part of the country. But what seems to have happened is that the situation in that region has now given room to a lot more sort of one-offs in different parts of the country around kidnapping. You have Fulani herdsmen fighting going on that still doesn't seem to have a sense. 2 days ago, 22 girls were kidnapped again in Borno, not too far from Chibok, and not a peep from the government till today.
That's been denied. The army says that didn't happen.
When did they say that?
Yesterday.
Really? Yeah. Okay, so I missed that. But that for me, okay, let's even miss the 22 girls that have been kidnapped. You have suicide bombings from girls in Maiduguri that have continued to go on. You have Sambisa that's not completely cleared on. Chibok girls will be 3 years in 2 weeks, April 14th. And when President Buhari came in, what he said clearly was that he would not have considered the war against Boko Haram completed until the Chibok girls have been returned. So let's even use that as a simple parameter. Now, some of the girls in negotiated release has happened. You have still 195 girls still missing, and there's, in a sense, really no communication around what is happening. One of the simple things the Bring Back Our Girls movement has asked for is just periodic updates. Get the vice president is the chairman of NEMA, you have the NSA, you have the chief of the student staff. Can we have a meeting, maybe monthly, that says that, look, this is what we're doing? And before anybody goes off again and says it's not only the Chibok girls that have been abducted, we keep saying that the Chibok girls are the only group of people that you actually know their names. You know their names, so, you know the names of their parents, you know where they were abducted from.
Are you saying those narratives that brought President Muhammadu Buhari 2 years on are not realistic?
Not all of them.
Halfway?
No, halfway. I think for me it's been disappointing, especially in this area of security. Because if you take him by his word, that he said you will not consider the fight against Boko Haram completed until the Chibok girls have been returned. And in addition to what's happening in the northeast, you now have farmer herdsmen issues that there's no clear plan around what is the government doing about it. And if you look at communities from Benue to Kogi, the number of people who have been killed and displaced, but there's still it's in a sense we're almost doing the same thing that happened under the Jonathan administration in the northeast. We've moved that to the north central, to other parts of the country, even in the south and the southeast where you've had these issues. And there's the same mistake of what exactly are we doing?
Let me go to Senator Omo-Agege. For the National Assembly, the public view and perception of the National Assembly, from your own point of view, do you think is better from 2015 to now?
Well, if you ask me, I will tell you this. People need to understand that we have 3 arms of government. You have the executive, you have the judiciary, and then you have the legislature. And each of those arms of government are independent of the other. What we're doing in the National Assembly, to a very large extent, is trying as best we can to maintain the independence of the legislature. We're doing the best we can to support this government. There are lots of us in the National Assembly who support Mr. President, who support Mr. President's agenda. We do everything and indeed anything to see that he succeeds. But be that as it may, what binds everyone together in the National Assembly is that independence. We are in the National Assembly today. We elected, some of us were elected in 2015. I've been here for a year and a half. I made this institution a revered institution. I intend to leave it the way it was before I came in. What that means, in effect, is that we do everything to protect and defend the independence of the National Assembly. Now,
if I may quickly butt in so that you handle this matter, if you will be sincere with Nigerians, the kind of leadership that we currently see and have in the National Assembly, do you think Nigerians are taking them serious, considering the kind of politics or politics that we see every day? Are you proud of the National Assembly of today?
Am I proud of the job I'm doing as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? You bet I do. And I'm sure you ask the same questions of the other senators, they will tell you exactly the same thing. You see, you must look at it from different contexts. We have our primary assignments that have been given to us. And the primary assignment is to legislate for this country. Are we doing that or are we not doing that? Look at the major legislation that we have taken in this 8th Senate. We've taken, let me speak most importantly the one that we just did. That is the legislation dealing with the amendments to the 2010 Electoral Act. In the intro here, I made clear that one of the biggest lessons I took away from the 2015 elections, is the marked improvements, that the Jaga-led INEC, introduced, to make the elections better in 2015. Now, we also decided that, notwithstanding those improvements by Jaga, there's been a move in the judiciary to erode those gains. And to prevent further erosion of those gains, we decided that we should amend the 2010 Electoral Act. And what we have done right now will preserve the one-man, one-vote mantra that Mr. President has been championing, a one-man, one-vote mantra that all Nigerians have been championing for so long. If you ask me, I can give you some of the highlights that legislation without even addressing the other major legislation that this Senate has taken. But to me, even that I personally have been involved in a lot of bills that are brought to the floor that have cleared the Senate and are waiting concurrence in the House of Reps. But the biggest, if you ask me, achievement of this Senate, if you ask me right now, would be the reforms that we've made, to the 2010 Electoral Act that will prepare the ground, for 2019 elections. Okay. So that I believe that is how this National Assembly ought to be judged, and not because of these other pediatric issues.
Okay, we take a moment, and when we return, we probe further into the change promised by the APC. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.